Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Eric is founder and president at Heckman Financial right here in Silicon Valley. I want to start off by letting you know about the Wealth Creator Toolbox. This toolbox is something you can get complimentary, and in it includes Eric's book. Of course, he is an author. You know that. Worry Less Wealth. You get the book. And then there's some other educational reports that you can get, all designed to help you understand how you can retire well. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Toolbox. 800-454-1184. And then always remember you can find us online anytime at wealthcreatorradio.com. Today we're going to talk about how most Americans are failing. They're getting a failing grade when it comes to retirement literacy. Eric, a big hello to you.
Hey, Luann, it's great to be here and talking about what people really need to know, which is getting educated, getting information on money. I mean, it is such a critical thing. It affects every aspect of your life, and it's amazing how uneducated we are about it.
Right, it really is. And I know you're someone who's big on education. You have lots of education backing up what you do as a financial advisor. You have all kinds of licenses and everything. So I'm assuming that when you were in school, good grades were pretty important to you.
Yeah, I mean, I always expected to get good grades. It wasn't something that I ever thought about. You just did it. Usually in the honors classes and all that other type of stuff. And, one of the things that blew me away is, in hindsight, it might have been 2 days, but I remember one day talking about, checking accounts and something, and we may have talked one more day about loans or something, but that was it.
I know.
And I mean, think about how many days of school you had. I mean, if you're going K through 12, right, 13 years, I actually, I got a finance degree. You know how many classes in personal finance I had to take? 0. Even for a finance degree. There was one personal finance elective, which in hindsight probably should have taken, since that's what industry I'm in now. But yeah, most of the finance is really all talking mostly about corporate. I mean, there is stuff on econ and stuff, and economics is definitely very personal finance related. So it's not that I didn't have any training in that, but it's still amazing that just the simple basic thing that we're all focused on is, trying to get, all the news is telling, people about how well they're employed or how many people have jobs and blah, blah, blah. What do you do with the check once you get it? What do you do with, how do you put money in savings or in 401ks, IRAs, all this stuff? Why is that not a huge thing? Because you know how many financial problems and how many society problems would be fixed by just educating people first about money, and then that way they don't get in trouble.
Right. Isn't that true in marriages too, right? Number one reason for a marriage failing is financial.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's amazing how many different things that percolates through. And so it's something that people really need to be always striving to do, because obviously it's also something that changes too over time.
Right. And so it is. It amazes me that we don't have as much, even in high school, for everybody in high school, we should have something like that. So anyway, because of all of this, what you're talking about, Americans do get a failing grade when it comes to retirement literacy. And that's what our show is all about. They're saying that females, about 89% of them flunked a 38-question quiz. Men failed the quiz, about 72% of them. But it's really funny. There's a huge gap there with the people are lacking in the literacy when it comes to retirement. What topics do you find most people are struggling with when you're helping them with retirement?
Well, it's all over the place. I mean, most people know nowadays, or at least the clients I'm talking to who are older typically, and they're closer to retirement. And most of them know the basics on, 401ks and IRAs, but sometimes they're shocked at how much tax they're going to owe. They don't really necessarily always know, how to figure out how money's going to last, how the money's going to come from, all sorts of things. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the critical things. And we've actually started, I think it's 12 years ago now, maybe. I started the Financial Knowledge Institute. And the Financial Knowledge Institute does a lot of talks at companies. We did a lot of community center stuff. Obviously, with COVID, all that had to stop, unfortunately. So we haven't been doing as much, although we did do some outreach work with some single parent group, when the crisis first hit. And so that's one of the things that we've been able to do is at least do some outreach of, how to help people and just give them some basic pointers and just how do you put some money away? How do you put some money in savings? How do you get all those things going? And once you know some of these things, it's a lot of it's pretty easy. It's kind of like dieting and exercise, right? The ways to lose weight and be healthy. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, all of it takes time and takes effort, and no different than losing weight and being healthy. Financial matters are just the same. It takes time, but if you don't do any of those things, then you end up being in a world of hurt and being very messed up. Same often with your health, right? So same way.
Well, it's interesting in this study that they did, American College of Financial Services, about retirement literacy. So, Eric, I got to tell you this. More women are serving as their household's chief financial officer, which I think we know that. We talk about that a lot. They do all the daily and monthly bills, but they need help with their retirement readiness, according to this study we're talking about today, the American College of Financial Services. So what's the difference between managing your monthly household budget and having an income strategy for retirement?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar, but very different, right? So, having that paycheck in retirement is a critical thing. And where's that money going to come from? When you're working, it's just, okay, how much can you pay, your bills, and how much can you spend, and, all those kind of issues, right? So what we're really talking about in retirement is the same kind of thing, but more importantly, where's the income source? Usually when you're working, it's pretty easy. It's the paycheck. Well, when you're retired, you have to figure out where the paycheck comes from, right? So you don't get a paycheck from one source. You get Social Security, you get retirement, savings withdrawals, you get money you've saved up, all those things. And you have to create that lifetime income. And one of the things we have developed is this toolbox here that we have. So we've got a lot of resources up there. We've got a copy of my book. We've got a lot of educational materials that you can pick and select from and just download. So again, if that's something you want to grab, it's super easy. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, or you can even call and leave a message for toolbox. But text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, that's 800-454-1184, or you can download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Thanks so much for listening. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Eric, we often talk about conversations you have with couples and a surviving spouse, but single people have some additional challenges as well because it's all on them. What are some factors that single people need to consider for retirement planning?
Yeah, exactly what you said there is it's all on them. There's no other income. There's no, obviously making sure your money lasts is a really critical thing since it's just you. Now, in some ways, some things are a little bit easier because they don't have to worry about the surviving spouse or, the other person, right? So they can actually spend a little bit more money and, just making sure that there is somebody, a family member, or somebody there to help them out in case things go south, and especially health-wise. So you need to have that income plan that says, well, how is your money going to last? Will it last the rest of your life? You need that investment plan to see how much risk you're taking today, and is that too much or too little? At least you'll know before things go bad. So usually we just set up a 15 to 30 minute worry less wealth talk where we just find out what you're worried about, what concerns are. It could be on the phone or Zoom, whatever. Just kind of go over those basic things. Then from there, what we do is set up an actual blueprint meeting where we create that blueprint to worry less wealth, where we used to charge you a fee for, but now we're actually giving that free to people listening to the show. And so then what we do is we just go through that income, investment, tax, healthcare, legacy plan, tell you what's good, what's working, tell you what issues you might want to fix. And then it's up to you if you want to work with us or do it on your own. But at least then you get that information that's so critically needed. So yeah, definitely give us a call. Again, you can either text the word visit or call 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, you're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. We have for you a Wealth Creator toolbox that you can get complimentary, which includes his book and a whole bunch of other educational reports that can guide you with retirement. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox. So, Eric, in the past, we've talked about baby boomers retiring every single day in droves of 10,000. By 2030, all these people, all baby boomers, will be 65 years old. Up to bat for retirement will be the Generation X. Can you believe that?
Yep, times are changing, so that's going to definitely make some shifts in the economics and so forth.
Yeah, and even thanks to the pandemic in 2020, numbers have picked up even more. So when you have that many people leaving the workforce at one time, what do you say could be the potential impact on the economy? Anything?
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of things. Obviously, retirement stuff, destinations, adventures, all travel and stuff, which got slowed down by pandemic, but should be rapidly speeding up here in the future for some time because of all these baby boomers want to go do that bucket list stuff, right? They want to check off all those items. And so, when they do that, they're spending money, and that's going to be good for the economy. Now, of course, they're not going to be making the money. And so hopefully there's enough people behind them to help out. And then there will be a much bigger drawdown on the stock market because a lot of those people, as they get older, they want to have less risk, more guaranteed income. And so there's going to be less of a buying demand on the stock market from all those people that, especially once you're 50 and up, those are the people that are really socking away usually the most money because they realize they didn't do enough early on. Yeah. And so and plus just legally with 401k, you can do, you have that catch-up provision where you can do $6,500 more. So, there's a lot more money going into the market. And if those people all retire and start sucking the money back out of the stock market, that can definitely going to have an effect. And of course, healthcare is going to be another big effect. A lot of those people are going to need home health care and other issues. And there's going to be a big strain on that because I don't think we've really built up enough infrastructure for all that. So, there's definitely going to be some changing demographics going forward.
So get this. The first Gen Xers are in their mid-50s now. I'm shocked, actually. I can't believe that. But what would you want to say to help those people make the most out of these next 10 to 15 years, Eric?
Well, since I'm kind of one of them, I'm not the mid part of the 50s, but early part, so I mean, this is the time to be really, like I said, putting the money away, putting it away right. I mean, right now we all realize that, Congress we've had tax bills that have been passed that had no way to pay for themselves, so they have to expire. We've had all sorts of, giveaways and handouts from the government to get us through the pandemic. And nobody's really talking about how to pay our bills back. And the only way the government pays their bills back is by taxes, right? So if the tax revenues don't go up, then tax rates go up. And so more and more, I would say, be looking at tax-free investing, tax efficient, other options. I mean, you obviously can do Roth stuff. You can do after-tax 401k, convert to a Roth if you have that option. You can even do specially designed stuff with smart life insurance designs. But you got to watch out in that area, because there's people talking about laser funds and other dorky names of stuff that really should not be used. And really, I just like to call it what it is and say what the tool actually is. But it can be a great tool also to have some tax-free money. So I think everything, not only should you be, if you're in your 50s and up, saving a lot more, but you also should be way more tax efficient, because odds are you already have a big old pile of money that's already going to be taxed when you hit retirement, and it's going to be even bigger by the time you get there. So you're going to have some tax headaches, so don't add fuel to the fire.
Right. The question always comes up about, Social Security going to be there. Do you think Gen X can count on that?
Well, it's still, a very big unknown, right? Because if you go on their website, they always, tell you that, hey, whatever year, it changes a little bit year to year, but roughly somewhere in the 2035 range typically is where it falls. And usually it's, we could pay about 80% of our bills. It's like calling your mortgage company and say, I'm just going to pay 80% of my mortgage. It's like, no, they're not going to let you do that. And so, that's the tough part, is you should be able to count on something, but of course it's getting taxed away also. So you get that money and then you pay tax on it. There's going to probably be something there always, right? Because it's something we all paid into. It's going to probably have to change a little bit again. And so, you got to take the action. You got to do stuff, and you got to make sure, that money's going to last for the rest of your life. And I mean, we do have some resources. I don't have the checklist up there, but that's something people could also, ask us for. But we have a lot of tools up in our toolbox, and that's one of the things that you can request. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, or you can call and leave a message and request the toolbox. That's at 800-454-1184. Again, you can text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or you can download all the resources there at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we thank you so much for listening. Glad you joined us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. And Eric, if someone's in their 40s now, and I know they have a lot of time now before retirement, but what would you say that they should be doing right now?
No different than every other person, right? Just
save,
right? I mean, I've actually run into a lot of people who, they're in their 30s and they say, hey, I want to be done by, 50 years.
Yeah.
55 or even 45. And so just because you're younger doesn't mean you may not be as close to retirement. It's just, how are you saving the money? What are you doing? There's some kind of always truths, right? So if you're saving 15 to 20% of your pay, and some of that can be short term, just for emergency money. Some that should be kind of medium term for the next big goal of, whatever you're going to buy in 3 to 5 years. But a lot of that should be long term. And, so if you're putting that money away, I don't care if you're in your 20s or 50s, you're going to do very well. And if your goal is to retire earlier, then you may even be putting more away. I mean, I met with one couple that, they were saving, I think, just about 50% of their income. But ironically, of course, they were thinking about buying a house. And once we did the math on that, I'm like, you're going to be down to about 15, 20% of your income that you're going to be able to save. And they wanted to retire, super young, like 45 or something. And so it could be done, but if you're going to spend a ton on the house, and depending on how that goes, right, it may not totally work. But as long as you're putting that money away, you're going to be able to probably retire earlier. There's no doubt about it. Everybody I've met with ever, the ones who saved big money early on, have done better. So just putting that money away and being tax smart and doing a lot more Roth, other things, that's going to be payoff in big terms in the end.
Right. That's awesome. The funny thing is, so many people are wanting to retire so young. I mean, everybody who is in their 20s that I know of, because, my kids are that age, they're all saying, I want to be retired by 50. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of years to be retired. So I do hope they're saving. But getting back to the Gen Xers who are in their 50s, you mentioned being tax efficient. So again, the Gen Xers are in their 50s now. You are one of them, Eric. So retirement is getting so much closer. I want you to dive in a little bit deeper about what they need to be thinking about doing to get ready for retirement.
Well, obviously, we've been talking a lot about taxes and saving, trying to be more tax-free. The other big one would be, how do you have some lifetime income? It may sound early, but there's a lot of great products out there that if you have a 10-year runway, as I like to call it, time to speed up, you can have some great lifetime income that's increasing. And, it can be a really great thing for you to have that, because if you get some Social Security, you get some other lifetime income, then you don't have to worry about your portfolio as much. But if you wait till you're like 1, 2, 3 years from retirement, which is what happens a lot of times when people are talking to me, the runway space is too small and it gets harder to do. So yeah, that'd be one of the things I'd be looking at. And again, you got to look at having a holistic plan. You want to look at everything together. There's some great new options, but people really need to educate themselves and find out what's out there. So that's something that if you wanted to take advantage of, look at those resources first at the toolbox. Check those out. If you want to set up a time after that, we can definitely talk and help you. But this is probably one of the most critical times, the biggest shifts we've had in the economy in a positive way.
Yes.
So you hear all the bad news. This is a positive. These are some great new options out there, some stuff I haven't seen ever before. So loving it, because we have so many more options for our clients. So again, if you want to get that, you can either text the word toolbox or you can just leave a message. Both of them would be 800-454-1184. Again, that number is 800-454-1184. Or you can request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
We're talking about Gen Xers, and those people are now in their mid-50s right now, believe it or not. And they're not retiring in droves yet, probably, but they're worried that they might not be ready for retirement. Kind of like Bobby and I were, Eric, when we were in our 50s. So we don't talk a whole lot about Gen Xers on our show, but I think we're going to here soon, because they're the people who are coming up on retirement. These people have more than 10 years until retirement. What should their priorities be right now in terms of saving?
Well, of course, just putting that money away, right? Figuring out how to get every dime they can in there. Obviously, like myself, figure out how to survive tuition payments for right, for college costs. I'm done with one son, got one in, and then one more to go.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, that's one thing that definitely for a lot of people in that age group is going to be a money drain as you're trying to also save for the future, right? So, being smart about that and taking smart actions. So a lot of times a little too late for you to be doing 529 plans and all that if you're already, in the middle of the cost. But, figure out what's the best way to fund them, pay for them, those types of things. But really, it always comes down to always the same thing. Are you saving 15 or 20%? Are you socking that money away? Is it going to be tax efficient? Do you have some, the three types of money? I mean, the three types of money are foundational money, steady income money, and market funds. So your 401k has only one choice. It's all market. Stocks, bonds, different types of markets, but it's all stocks and bond markets. So it's all risk money. In terms of your IRAs or your regular dollars, you've got a lot more options. And that's where you can have some foundational money, some stuff that's guaranteed to not lose money. Stuff right now that's probably paying around 3 to 7 on average, hopefully kind of averaging, at least 5 to 6 long term. And then you have that steady income money. This is stuff that pays really high dividends, high income. Even if you don't need the income, you can obviously reinvest the income in the market or someplace else if you want. But this is stuff that's lower volatility. So typically stuff like real estate or credit funds, other things. And these are typically paying right now about 5 to 7%. And then, of course, got some growth on top of that. So, having those other two pots of money and not having it 100% in the market, it's going to be really great for you in those times when the market tanks, because then you have those other areas that you can run to and if you need them. But if it's 100% in the market and the market goes, 100% of your money drops. And so that's what we don't want to have happen, right?
Right. So if you do have the responsibilities, let's say, of, taking care of your kids, but then also maybe having to take care of your parents, sometimes we turn into the caregiver. Talk about how that can potentially impact your own well-being in the future, Eric.
Well, I mean, there's two things. One conference I went to now several years ago, I was down in San Diego, and they actually had I think it was UC San Diego, not San Diego State, but they had these people come in, and they had actually measured physiologically, and they could see the effects of caregiving. I mean, literally, of people who are caregivers, it actually took a physical effect. And so that's one thing to be watching for. And then, of course, the other one's the financial effect. I had a client right after their youngest daughter graduated from high school, was also calling me up asking me for advice. And they live in another part of the country now, but he was asking me advice on their dad, who still lives here in California, and he was needing care. And so, yeah, it is definitely the sandwich generation, right? I had graduation in 1 week, and trying to find a specialized care for your father. And that's one of those things that definitely is going to be more and more prevalent going forward. And there is some stuff you want to do and stuff you don't want to do. I mean, lots of times, like, brother was initially saying, hey, let's just start giving them some money and we'll put it in their bank account. It's like, no. There's a lot of things that you can do in terms of getting some government help and assistance and other things that you would not be able to get if you give that money directly and stuff. So you definitely want to have some good advice when those kind of things happen. Years and years ago, I had somebody who was doing a lot of community outreach with, and we were in lots of different groups together. She had to take care of both her parents. They both needed care at the same time. She was in sales, and guess what? She had almost no energy to do sales anymore. And she was mostly commission-based, did like office products and stuff. And so her business was down a bunch. She made a lot less money. She couldn't put money into her retirement plans then. And so helping her parents for 5 years as they spent down everything and had almost nothing left to give her after they passed away, she lost a ton of time because not only did she not make money, but she wasn't saving money. And so then, that's kind of like a double whammy, right? So yeah, you have to be super careful about, how much you can help somebody. And sometimes you have to just say, hey, let some of the government, fail-safe programs help out or other things. But you don't want to jeopardize your entire financial future just helping them. So it's a tough spot to be for sure.
Eric, your blueprint to worryless wealth covers so many things. How do you help people with this issue right here of healthcare?
Yeah, well, the blueprint to worry less wealth, I mean, it's where we want you to worry less about your money and more about having fun and enjoying life. There's 5 areas. Obviously, you have to have income. So we have an income extension program, the income extender. We talk about investment optimizer. How do you make sure those are in the right spots? Tax minimizer for the rest of your life, not just one part at a time. And then that healthcare navigator. How do you go through all these stuff like Medicare and long-term care, home health care, all those types of issues, and have the money there? And then legacy template. Who's going to get your money when you're gone? So, those are the 5 areas of the blueprint. Something that you really, really got to look at and make sure you have set up right and ahead of time. Not like, I need this stuff for yesterday, right? That doesn't work that way. So yeah, that's one of the things we can do here at Heckman Financial. We first set up just a quick phone call, find out what your issues, what your worries are, and then we'll set up another time to go over your actual blueprint, tell you where you're headed, go look at these 5 areas. And then it's up to you if you want to have us help you with it or if you want to take care of it on your own. But again, right now we're waiving that planning fee of $1,500. So, if that's something you want to take advantage of, all you have to do is give us a call, 800-454-1184. Again, leave us a message at 800-454-1184 or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And again, this toolbox is complimentary. So this is just a way to honestly transform your worries of retirement into confidence. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox, something that we want you to get free of charge. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. So the good news for Gen Xers that we've been talking about about today is even if they're stressed about retirement, they have time on their side to keep saving. So I want to talk about what they need to be thinking about, Eric, to make the transition smooth as they head into retirement.
Yeah, well, I mean, mostly it's, of course, just having that plan, right? I mean, if you're just driving down the road and you have no idea where you're going, you'll get someplace, right?
Yeah, but where, right?
But where, who knows? And it may be an interesting thing to do once or twice, but I wouldn't keep going that way. So really what you need to do is you need to have that income plan set up. You need to know where those investments are. How are they starting to transition into some more foundational and steady income monies, not just market monies? Do you have that that income kind of feel for it now, not just accumulation, because you need all that planning done. Those are the things that I think a lot of people, aren't really thinking about, right? They just say, hey, retirement someplace down the road, but hold it. I used to get a paycheck. How do I get one now? Well, one of the hardest things to do is, figure out, okay, if I've got all this money, I've got all these things here, where does that big check come from? Well, it's not a big check anymore. It's lots of little checks. So, that's the big thing that you have to do. So again, I think it's really a great time to reach out and get some resources and talk to somebody. So, if you want to, again, get that toolbox, get some information there. And then if you want to reach out, or if you have somebody in that situation, definitely have them get a hold of us and we can help them a lot. Again, you can either text the word toolbox or just call and request it at 800-454-1184. Again, that's toolbox, 800-454-1184, or request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Things you can do in 15 minutes. Walk the dog. Make a smoothie. Meditate. Now you can add creating a personalized retirement plan to that list. Schedule your complimentary 15-minute call with Heckman Financial Services today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184. Keyword. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
You're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Eric is here to offer you help with a retirement strategy. He always talks about this on our show. We have for you a Wealth Creator toolbox that you can get complimentary, which includes his book and a whole bunch of other educational reports that can guide you with retirement. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox. A lot of times on our show, we talk about fun things, like planning vacations and what you want to do in retirement. But then there are other things that are really just as important, but a little harder to plan. And I'm talking about your final wishes. So, even your funeral. And a lot of times you don't want to sit down and think about it, but it is so much easier on your loved ones if you do that. Eric, I got to tell you, we lost my brother-in-law last summer, and he had been sick for about 2 years, and I couldn't believe that after he passed, my poor sister-in-law was running around trying to figure out where they were going to be buried. They had not even done that yet. These things are not fun to think about ahead of time, but at the same time, you do need to get that done. So it's a lot easier on yourself or even your loved ones. Tell us what you've learned from your own personal experience.
Yeah, it can be very tough and very stressful. And probably the one I liked the most is one of my clients called it a fog. She felt like she was in a fog. And over the next couple of years, every time we'd meet, she would talk about how the fog's lifting and it's getting more visible and things. And I think that was kind of a good way to do it. And imagine you're in a, almost a whiteout fog kind of condition, and you're having to make, like you said, for your sister-in-law, decisions on, what to do here and what to do with this. And, then of course you got finances, do you want to have this rolled over to your name? Do you want to have this in theirs? Or how do you, there's all these things that you have to all of a sudden decide, and they can have huge tax ramifications, huge cost ramifications. I think there's a lot of things that people really need to be doing. And it's, like you said, vacations are way more fun to plan than this. Yeah. But, this will happen. This is guaranteed. So
take
some time.
Right.
Yeah, take some time, figure it out.
Yeah. And, since you and I have been doing this show, I'm 62, almost 63. And I really, truly am starting to think through all these things and wanting to get our plans together. We have not done that. We've talked about it, but we have not done that yet. But AARP has some really good resources on how you can help your family by taking a few basic items, by taking care of a few basic items. So, Eric, let's go over those. Tell us about what are some things we should consider doing.
Well, obviously, what we were talking about there is if you want to be buried or cremated and all that stuff, just have that kind of planned out. And, you save a lot of money if you do that ahead of time, too. So it just makes more sense. But the biggest things that I've always seen the most ill will and the worst situation is not the financial. It's the stuff, or lack of a better term, the junk.
Yeah.
Often it's stuff that nobody else really cares about. At one point, I had a kind of a cool situation where I had a 4-generation client. I had all the way from from grandma all the way down to great grandson stuff. And when grandma passed away, one teenage daughter went in there and got some of grandma's shoes, and the other sister and had a teenage daughter was all mad because why'd you go take grandma's shoes? Now grandma had been a client of mine for a long time, and her shoes were not fancy. But it was just like, hey, the fact that you went in there and you took stuff without asking me and blah, blah, and it's just, somebody gets this, but I'm the one who always spent the time with that, with him, or, so yeah, having, you can either write it down or, the best thing is, take a picture. I mean, it's easy to take pictures and print them off, right? So
yes.
If there's some sort of sentimental item, some picture, some, like actually my own grandfather was a van driver for United Van way back when, and for a while, he always had this cool little miniature, United Van truck.
Oh, yeah.
My sister always wanted that, so she made sure, he put her name on the bottom of it.
Yes, that's cool.
But nowadays you don't even have to do that. Just take a picture and put it in your trust or put it in your, important materials and say this is who gets what, and ask people ahead of time, right? And so that way they know. And having a plan is so important. Again, I think it's really a great time to reach out and get some resources and talk to somebody. So if you want to get that toolbox, get some information there, and then if you want to reach out or if you have somebody in that situation, definitely have them get a hold of us and we can help them a lot. Again, you can either text the word toolbox or just call and request it at 800-454-1184. Again, that's toolbox, 800-454-1184, or request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Eric, sometimes you are one of the very first people contacted by the family after a client passes away. Why don't you tell us some things that you go over with that spouse or maybe with the children of a client who has died?
Yeah, well, it's always tough, and probably one of the hardest ones I had a client that she had put money in one account years ago, and then she started doing stuff on her own, and ironically, my office is now in her old building.
Oh, wow.
Where she worked. But she ran it all. She did all the finances, everything, and had it all go to her work email.
What?
And so when she passed away, they couldn't even know where the monies were. They couldn't even figure out. So, her husband came in with their 18-year-old son, and they were trying to, in essence, hack into their accounts or find their accounts. But all the resets go to her work email, which she worked for a bank, and that gets shut off the second you pass away.
Oh, goodness.
So one of the things is, just, helping them log into accounts, helping them figure out where the accounts are. Sometimes you do some detective work, look at, did you have any interest from, stuff on your last tax return, from different places. And, so that's one of the things. What should you do with each account? There's a lot of legal ramifications with, if you roll over IRA money to somebody's name or not. So there's a lot of stuff about inherited IRAs or not, or if it's a spouse, they can roll it to their own name. If they're under 59 and a half, then you may not want to roll it to your own name. So there's a lot of things around that. And then just even resetting the tax basis. There is a thing called step up in basis. When somebody dies, you inherit it at today's market value. So, you need to reset all those bases and stuff. So there's a lot of little things to go into it. And, we just kind of help walk them through that and kind of guide them through that process.
Well, like we're saying, none of these things are fun to talk about, but we are not promised tomorrow. We don't know when our final day is. And that's why we're talking about something so important like this. Don't put this off. Plan out what you need to do. Tell us how things like estate planning, legacy planning, like we're talking about, fit into your overall process. This fits right in with your blueprint to worryless wealth.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you have to have a plan for this. I mean, it's not, you literally don't take it with you. Somebody's going to get it. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be somebody who's going to go through just pure agony, having to go through the court systems and figuring out how much to pay attorneys and court costs and all this other just awful stuff that you may have stuck somebody else with having to deal with because you didn't take a little bit of time to fix it, right? And and then also making sure it goes to the right people. Did you do the right beneficiaries? If maybe one of your children predeceased you, does their children get your money, or does this all default to your other kids, and then their kids get disinherited? There's little things like that people just don't think about. It's just one of these things where you have to have this planned and done. If you own any sort of property, really you gotta have trust. I mean, you need to have a living trust set up. Work with a estate planning attorney if you don't, if you have one or something. Maybe if you're somebody who just doesn't want to meet with anybody and just likes to do stuff on their own. Well, actually, if you go to wealthcreatorradio.com, we'll actually have a link for an online version of a trust that you can set up there. And it's really nicely well done trust that we've reviewed and talked to the people who set it up, and at least get that planning process done, because you need to make sure that process is taken care of, because you can either leave somebody a mess that they have to hunt through things and find and search and just go through pure agony, or you can leave them a fairly nice situation that, believe it or not, still takes a lot of time and effort.
Right,
if anybody's helped anybody having to settle a estate, it's still a ton of work if it's in the right order. If it's out of order, if it's messed up, oh my gosh, it can be just a nightmare to deal with, and it's almost like a second job. And you don't want to leave that to other people. You don't want to leave that to your loved ones, especially. So taking some time and doing that, and what we do here at Heckman Financials, we actually help people eliminate that worry. There's some great new options, but people really need to educate themselves and find out what's out there. So that's something that if you wanted to take advantage of, look at those resources first at the toolbox. Check those out. If you want to set up a time after that, we can definitely talk and help you. But this is probably one of the most critical times, the biggest shifts we've had in the economy in a positive way.
Yes.
So you hear all the bad news. This is a positive. These are some great new options out there, some stuff I haven't seen ever before. So loving it, because we have so many more options for our clients. So again, if you want to get that, you can either text the word toolbox, or you can just leave a message. Both of them would be 800-454-1184. Again, that number is 800-454-1184. Or you can request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we'll be right back with more of Eric Heckman and Wealth Creator Radio. Stick around for the rest of our show.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Thanks so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Remember, you can text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184 to get this digital toolbox from Eric, including his book and other wonderful educational materials about retirement. Now, Eric, you and I often discuss challenges and risks in retirement, and so I thought we'd bring another story about someone who's experienced some obstacles in retirement. We call it a financial fail. So, Eric, what do you have for us today?
Well, this one's more of I guess compilation is, probably the best way to say it is sometimes people, for whatever reason, they just think they should go for it, or they don't realize how much they're putting in one spot, right? And I have one client that he's like, okay, all I need is like 50,000 more for Bitcoin, and I'll get that house in Pismo Beach and be moving. Well, then of course Bitcoin tanked huge, and that he ain't getting that house anytime soon. And then I had some other clients that said, hey, and at the beginning of 2022, they said, hey, we've got some extra cash. Let's go for it. They must have looked up every high risk tech stock that you could possibly buy. I'd never seen somebody lose money so fast. They had 80% losses on several stocks, and just kind of huge things. And and then same with companies, with people who work at at a certain company, and they'll sit on that company's stock just thinking it's going to always be great, and then it dives down, and then they're getting close to retirement, and now all of a sudden they don't have all that money. And so we all know you're supposed to diversify, but sometimes it doesn't sound fun, right? Especially when something's shooting up a bunch. I've got one client at Apple who we've just always been selling off 10 or 15%, and sometimes we sell off 10 or 15 and it shot back up, so it was great, but sometimes it also went back and went down, and it was good that we did it, right? So you really should never have more than 10% of your overall net worth in any one investment, if it's a stock or Bitcoin or whatever it is, right? And, unfortunately, people still do that. And, you want to have some tools, you want to have some education out there. So again, get that toolbox. We got a lot of great things about how to find the right balance, how to make sure your money lasts. Those are obviously big ways to not fail. And then you can even read the book, Worry Less Wealth. So again, if you want a copy of that toolbox, all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, 800-454-1184. Or you can download or link to it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com. That's all for this week's show. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.